If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As she listened to Jordan, her children's smiles brightening at the prospect of enjoying ice cream, her heart ached with the realization that their dreams of college seemed as unreachable as her own aspirations had once been. Emma felt each word he spoke resonate deeply, igniting a flicker of the possibility to escape this cycle. Yet guilt seeped into her core. Would accepting help from a man of privilege mean surrendering her family's values? Did it diminish the message she wanted to instill in her children? Every night, as she lay awake, the tension in her mind spiraled. Doubt and fear became incessant companions, gnawing at her certainty. The stakes were rising, and as she stood at this precipice of change, she felt the weight of societal judgment crush her spirit. Could she redefine her worth beyond these material struggles? Would she be able to step into a life where hope was not a luxury, but her new reality? Emma held her breath as the realization of an uncertain future spun around her, leaving her grappling with a choice that might change everything, or nothing at all. The next morning, Emma woke to the sound of her children chattering in the kitchen. Sunlight filtered through the window, casting a warm glow that felt both inviting and brutal. A quiet sense of dread mingled with the aroma of pancakes sizzling on the griddle. The previous day's encounter played like a loop in her mind, each replay a fresh jolt of anxiety. As she joined them, she forced a smile, trying to mask the whirlwind of thoughts crashing inside her head. Jake's laughter buoyed her spirits, if only momentarily, while her daughter, Lily, recounted the escapade of a heroic superhero they had been watching. Emma listened, trying to enjoy the moment, yet feeling the weight of unspoken tension anchored in her heart. "Mom, can we go to the park today?" Jake asked, syrup sticky on his hands. Emma hesitated, measuring her words. "Maybe later," she replied, the reality of bus fare blocking the invitation. She glanced at the jar on the kitchen counter where she kept her spare change, an emblem of her dreams, but also a stark reminder of what they lacked. In the stillness that followed, Emma began to construct her plan. The encounter with Jordan felt transformative, yet she couldn't allow himself to lean too heavily on a stranger's goodwill. If opportunity knocked, she needed to take charge. Her heart pounded as she shifted into a mindset she had told herself was dormant. "Cleaner days are coming. You have to believe that, Emma," she whispered to herself, steadied by a new determination. What if she would cultivate skills, learn something tangible? Determined, Emma reached out to a friend from high school, Lisa, who had recently launched a small catering business. They hadn't connected in years, but desperation bred courage. The message was simple. Emma wanted to learn to cook with intention beyond the greasy diner meals of her routine shifts. It was a way to reclaim agency and transform her culinary skills into a fledgling career. Later that day, as they folded napkins and prepped ingredients in Lisa's small kitchen, Emma felt a rush of excitement wash over her. Lisa's approach was nothing short of infectious, a joyful exploration of flavors and techniques. The vibrant colors of fresh vegetables and the earthy aroma of spices invigorated Emma's spirit, igniting the fire she hadn't noticed smoldering within her. "What you're doing has value, Emma," Lisa encouraged as they blended spices into a sauce. "You could totally cater parties and events. People love homemade food prepared with care." A glimmer of hope sparked at Lisa's words, illuminating the shadows of doubt that had plagued Emma. It was a step, tiny but meaningful. If she could master this, perhaps she could reshape her life, knit together a future that didn't leave her feeling vulnerable and exposed. But as the day wound down, trepidation crept in again. This was exhilarating, yet the path was riddled with uncertainty. What if she failed? What if the resolve she felt today dissipated in the face of obstacles she could scarcely imagine? That night, she lay awake, not from worry, but from the thrill of possibility. There was no guarantee, but perhaps this could carve out a purpose for her, a professional self she could embrace, a way to rise from the shackles of fear. As sleep threatened to pull her under, she resolved to face this day by day, never forgetting the lessons learned from Jordan's generosity. The internal battle of pride versus necessity had just begun, and she could feel its weight nudging her toward greater clarity. Just then, a text notification broke the silence. Emma glanced at her phone to see a message from Jordan. "I was impressed by your strength," it read. "If you need any help planning a catering venture, let's talk." Her heart raced as she stared at the screen. Was this the moment she had hoped for, or would accepting further assistance chain her to dependency? Emma now faced a crossroads, one that could redefine her entire journey. Could accepting this offer lead her to unlock potential she had buried? With a deep breath drawn from the well of resilience, she knew she had to decide. The future waited, teetering on the edge of hope and the fear of losing herself. The morning light poured into her kitchen, sharper and more demanding than before, as if it were challenging Emma to rise to the occasion. The text from Jordan lingered in the back of her mind, both a promise and an obligation, compelling her to rethink her trajectory. Could this be the catalyst for change, or simply another chain anchoring her to a life of uncertainty? Over breakfast, she found herself trapped in a momentary paralysis, staring at her children, Jake with remnants of syrup on his cheek, and Lily animated as she waved her arms while recounting a vivid dream from the night before. Their laughter effortlessly punctuated her worries, a reminder of her why. Yet Emma felt a chasm growing between their carefree existence and her encumbered soul. "Mom, are you listening?" Jake's voice broke through her reverie. "Yes, sweetheart. What were you saying about the park?" Her hesitation returned, resurfacing as a chokehold around her heart. How could she deny their simple joys? Instead, she forced a smile. "After breakfast, we'll see. Maybe a short walk." The promise felt insufficient. She was learning to move, to consider shifts in not only her circumstances, but her mental space. Each small change was a step away from dependence, a step toward reclaiming control. Yet, the weight of the day ahead loomed like a dense fog. In the privacy of her bedroom, she carefully typed a response to Jordan. Maintaining a balance of professionalism and vulnerability was crucial. "Thank you for your offer. I'd love to talk. she wrote, her heart thudding painfully against her ribs as she hit send. Would he see strength or weakness in her willingness to accept help? As morning unfolded, Emma ventured into Lisa's kitchen, which felt more like a workshop for her rebirth than a simple space for culinary practice. The air was electric, with the smell of garlic and herbs cooking together like a symphony of potential. Here, try this, Lisa instructed, handing her a knife that, for a moment, felt foreign in her grip. Chopping is about rhythm. You need to get into the flow. Emma took a deep breath, focusing not just on the slicing, but on the movement, the process. With every cut, she discovered not only the vegetables yielding beneath her knife, but also the tension within herself gradually dissipating. Cooking is an art and a business. It's all about presenting yourself authentically, Lisa continued, her voice steady and assuring. You just have to find your unique flair. Which was precisely what Emma craved, to express herself beyond the confines of her identity as a waitress and mother. But what if her flair wasn't enough? The gnawing fear of failure resurfaced, threatening to overshadow the excitement she was slowly cultivating. You've got this, Emma, Lisa added, catching her moment of hesitation. Remember, every chef has burned a dish. Failure is part of the artistic process. The words resonated within Emma, lighting a spark of rebellion against her self-doubt. Each failure was a stepping stone, not a wall. By the end of the day, even the simplest sauce she crafted held her flavor, an infusion of both her struggles and triumphs. As evening approached, she received a reply from Jordan confirming their meeting for the next day. The butterflies in her stomach flapped furiously at the thought. This was monumental. Emboldened, she planned for their conversation. She could have something to offer. This could mark the first formal step into her venture. Everything she had done today was part of a broader picture. Leaving behind the waitress apron for a catering apron was no small act. It signified independence and determination. That night, staring at her reflection in the dim light of her bathroom mirror, Emma felt a subtle shift. The woman looking back at her was on the cusp of transformation. She wasn't merely a survivor. She was a creator, ready to carve out a space that belonged to her. As sleep beckoned, the question danced in her mind. Could this venture grow beyond mere subsistence into something life-altering? The stakes were high, but she felt ready to face the uncertainty head-on. A new message pinged on her phone, drawing her back briefly to the present. Looking forward to our meeting, Emma. Let's explore these ideas. I believe you're onto something special. Nervous anticipation threaded through her. There was promise in those words. Would this be the breakthrough she needed finally? The next day would soon reveal whether acceptance of his help was a pathway to independence or a descent into relying on someone else. Emma held her breath, poised at the edge of a new beginning. The morning fog hung in the air as Emma readied herself for the meeting. Each droplet on the window seemed to echo her internal turmoil. She was unaccustomed to stepping outside her familiar bounds, yet here she was, poised to embark on a conversation that could redefine her future. The kids had been sent off to school, their innocent anticipation about the day's adventures a stark contrast to the weight on her shoulders. She dressed carefully, opting for a simple but professional ensemble. The outfit felt like armor, intended to shield her from self-doubt while she battled her insecurities. As she scrutinized herself in the mirror, she lost focus on the woman gathering strength. A mere reflection remained of a waitress with dreams confined to her apron pocket. Emma's phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. Another text from Jordan flashed across the screen. "Let's meet at that little cafe downtown, 10 a.m." A quick glance at the clock reminded her that time was an adversary today. She inhaled deeply, the scent of her morning coffee intermingled with the nervous energy thrumming beneath her chest. Could she summon enough courage to present her vision? The cafe was alive with chatter as Emma arrived, the aroma of freshly baked pastries wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. When she spotted Jordan seated at a small table in the corner, a mixture of excitement and anxiety tightened her gut. He was the epitome of confidence, flicking through notes, seemingly unfazed. "Emma."
"Emma," he greeted with a warm smile, standing to pull out her chair. "I'm glad you made it. I truly believe we can create something special." His words should have reassured her, yet as she took her seat, doubt clutched at her mind. Did she actually have what it would take for this venture? She felt a rush of impulse to retreat into her safe zone, but the image of her children flashed before her, each smile a reminder of why she had to try. The conversation began at a steady pace, his questions about her cooking aspirations weaving into discussions about parental responsibilities and shared experiences. As they spoke, Emma began to see her thoughts merging with reality. Jordan asked about her inspirations, her dreams, her vision. There was a moment when she hesitated, grappling with the authenticity of her dreams. "I love catering, but I've never taken the leap into actually running my own business. What if I fail?" Jordan's expression softened, almost paternal. "Emma, everyone fears failure. Start with your strengths. You have a unique perspective, and it's your story that will resonate." His words held a kernel of empowerment, igniting the flicker of ambition within her. Curiosity replaced her nerves as she elaborated on her culinary style. Her vision of family meals transformed into a catering experience. As she spoke, she could feel the hesitation fading like mist in sunlight. But as the discussion deepened, so did the challenges she envisioned. How would she balance this business with motherhood? Every concern birthed lingering questions. Jordan tapped a pen against his notebook as he listened intently. "What resources are you willing to commit?" he asked, his tone shifting to one of clear seriousness. Emma's heart raced. The thought of investment brought forth memories of her struggles, her past ties to financial insecurity, whispers of doubts ringing louder. Could she ask for what she truly needed without being perceived as dependent? The dialogue spiraled into a tightrope walk between desperation and ambition. "I'm willing to commit time, energy, and a vision," she stated, her voice firmer than it had been earlier. "But I'll need guidance and perhaps a small investment of sorts." The weight of her admission hung heavy in the air, hanging between them like an unspoken challenge. Jordan regarded her silently before nodding slowly. A decision was forming in his mind. "Let's talk numbers next, then. I believe in your potential, Emma." She felt an overwhelming mixture of fear and elation as possibilities unfolded before her. Perhaps this wasn't just another fleeting opportunity, but a chance to step into her own creative light. As they concluded their meeting, they agreed to exchange plans and thoughts over the next few weeks. Emma walked away, the lingering thrill of potential charged in her veins. Once back at home, excitement sparked within her. She could feel the foundations of something new stirring in her heart, a determination strengthened by confrontation with her fears. But could she sustain this newfound courage? That night, she lay in bed unable to sleep, questions swirling endlessly in her mind. This journey loomed large on her horizon, its uncertainty both daunting and exhilarating. She sensed that greater challenges awaited, but the promise of liberation felt closer than ever. Emma found herself back in front of her mirror, seeking the reflection not of a waitress or mother, but of a woman determined to reclaim her story. The longing for freedom awakened within her. The moment of truth was nearing. A confrontation was inevitable, both with herself and the world outside. What awaited her tomorrow? Would she rise to the occasion, or would the weight of fear pull her back into the shadows? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the remnants of her hurried breakfast. Emma sat at the table, fingers skimming over the notepad filled with notes from Jordan. She had spent the night contemplating each word, every suggestion sparking both hope and dread. Could she realistically juggle her children, her daily tasks, and a budding business? With a steaming mug of coffee cradled in her hands, she felt the familiar comfort of routine ebbing away. The deeper she plunged into her thoughts about entrepreneurship, the more she recognized her preconceived limitations. She had lived for so long within the parameters defined by others, but the possibility of creating something of her own beckoned like an uncharted territory. Emma stared out the window, watching the neighborhood come to life. Children hurry to catch the bus, and parents embrace the rhythm of the morning. Her heart raced at the thought of connecting her dreams to reality. Were those kids at the bus stop destined for greatness while she remained tethered to her fears? Before she could spiral into self-doubt, her phone buzzed again. A text from Jordan, brief but electrifying. "Let's meet at the bakery tonight to discuss initial steps. I can help you with a draft business plan." Excitement surged, intermingled with a dose of anxiety. A draft business plan. This was a tangible step, a blueprint for her dreams. She quickly fired back a response confirming the meeting. Just the thought of outlining her vision was enough to ignite a new form of energy within her. Over the course of the day, Emma engaged in her usual routines, but with a heightened sense of urgency. She found herself drawn to the kitchen, flipping through her favorite cookbooks. With each recipe, the urge to create something unique blossomed. Ideas flowed like dough beneath her fingers, each one whispering potential. Family-themed catering services that mixed her love of cooking with personal stories. Time slipped through her fingers as she prepared dinner for her kids, each chop of the knife igniting her subconscious. What would they think if she embraced this new pursuit? The thought ignited another pang of self-doubt. Yet it also gave her a strange sense of resolve. After dinner, as her children nestled into their beds, Emma took a deep breath and gathered her materials for that night's meeting. Her notebook now had fresh sketches of concepts and potential menus. She was no longer just a waitress. She was a culinary artist with a vision. Her pulse quickened, torn between anticipation and lingering self-doubt. At the bakery, the aroma of freshly baked goods enveloped her, creating an exhilarating atmosphere. She spotted Jordan already seated at a corner table, laptop open and work in progress. His presence radiated assurance. It made her feel a flicker of confidence amidst her anxiety. Emma
Perfect timing, he greeted warmly, his energy infectiously positive. I've been refining your ideas. As they talked, Emma felt herself shedding layers of hesitation. Each discussion, from budgeting to marketing strategies, filled her with purpose. Jordan encouraged her to articulate her desires, to visualize who she wanted to be in this new role. With each description of her ideal business model, she felt herself igniting, a slow-burning fire becoming a fervent flame. Halfway through the meeting, he leaned forward, a more earnest tone in his voice. What makes your story unique? Your backgrounds. Use them. Emma's breath hitched. Could the struggles she had faced transform into a narrative that would resonate with others? As they drafted her vision together, reality struck anew. The confrontation with her own history felt daunting, but it also mirrored a burgeoning realization. Her past struggles equipped her with a voice that mattered, a flavor that could not be replicated. By the end of the evening, Emma left the bakery electrified, gripping the notes and menu sketches. She felt lighter, as though she had finally unearthed pieces of herself that had been buried under layers of fear and self-doubt. But looming in the shadows was the unresolved question of how her risk-taking would impact her family. Could she truly embrace this transformation without compromising her role as a mother? As she slipped into bed that night, her heart thrummed with anticipation. Tomorrow held potential, yet it was laced with uncertainty. She sensed a moment of reckoning was approaching, a pivotal decision that could either catapult her toward success or lead her back into familiar confines. The future was unfolding, and the stakes were rising. Would she dare to leap into the unknown? The clock ticked quietly on her bedside table, counting down the moments until she had to decide. The sunlight barely filtered through the curtains the next morning, casting a soft glow over the stillness of the house. Emma awoke, feeling the weight of possibility pressing down on her. As her kids returned home and the evening unfolded, she found herself caught between the realm of aspiring entrepreneur and attentive mother. Each moment of joy tinged with the bitterness of hesitation about her decisions. Before bed, she revisited the sketches of her dream, tracing her fingers over the words of her story. Could she truly weave success from personal adversity? The familiar weight of uncertainty loomed, but it was joined by the electric hum of possibility. The next day would bring another meeting with Jordan. The stakes had risen. Would she finally find the courage to confront her fears head-on? Or would the comfort of her current life keep her from taking the necessary leap into uncharted territory? As she drifted off to sleep, she felt the clock ticking again, a relentless reminder that tomorrow's decisions would define her path forward. What heart-stopping revelation awaited her in their next conversation? Emma woke early to the soft chime of her phone, a message from Jordan flashing dimly as it illuminated the darkened room. Her heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. Today was the day they would flesh out her idea, her first real meeting that could catalyze the journey she had envisioned. As she slipped from bed, the doubts that had threatened to creep back in slowly transformed into determination. The clock was ticking. After sending the kids off to school, she brewed her coffee, its rich aroma grounding her in the moment. Meetings define futures, she repeated to herself, a mantra she hoped would drown out the nagging voices of uncertainty. Her fingers played nervously with the edge of the notepad where she had scratched her ideas. The community dinner nights, once mere sparks of inspiration, now flickered with potential. Yet, ingrained in her excitement was a tinge of fear. What if her ideas fell flat? What if she stumbled over her words when faced with someone as driven as Jordan? Still, she resolved that today she would not shy away from her ambitions. Each step she took toward launching her business echoed loudly in her conscience, ever reminding her that her risks could teach her children about resilience. Arriving at the quaint cafe where they agreed to meet, she took a moment to observe the bustling environment. Laughter flowed through the air, the clattering of cups and silverware creating a soundtrack of vibrancy. Inspiration pricked at her senses. This was the atmosphere she wanted to cultivate in her own home. When Jordan entered, a warm smile creased his face, and he gestured for her to sit. As they settled into a cozy booth, Emma felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her moment. The conversation flowed easily as they dissected her idea. Jordan encouraged her to dive deeper into her vision, coaxing out details that made her falter. "What about the menu?" he asked, leaning forward, eager. "The story behind each dish is crucial. It's what will set you apart, Emma." The sound of her children's laughter echoed through the house once again, but this time it struck her as a call to action. Could she truly balance the pursuit of her passions alongside unresolved challenges? Would today's steps lead her to face down her past, or would it pull her back from the brink just as she was discovering her wings? Emma felt reality press back in. The moment for decision loomed larger than ever. Emma stood in the living room surrounded by her notes, the warmth of her children's laughter juxtaposed with the unsettling chill created by the unexpected call. Her heart raced as she imagined the voice on the other end. Could it be something benign, or were shadows from her past creeping back into her life? She felt her pulse quicken, each beat echoing her inner conflict. The weight of her budding aspirations felt heavier, almost suffocating. Taking a deep breath, she pushed herself to answer the call. "Hello," she said, keeping her tone steady despite the uncertainty simmering beneath the surface. "Emma, it's Alex," the voice on the other end said, sounding both familiar and foreign. Alex, her old friend from culinary school, was a figure she had managed to keep in her rearview mirror, a reminder of a life she had distanced herself from. This wasn't an ordinary catch-up call. It was a portal to a past she had worked hard to outrun. "Alex, it's been a long time." Emma's stomach twisted as memories rushed in, some happy, but many tinged with regret. She had sacrificed so much to leave that world behind, to carve out a new identity as a mother and a burgeoning entrepreneur. "I heard you're starting a dinner service," Alex interjected, excitement evident in his voice. "I'm really happy for you. I know how much you love cooking." "I'm trying to," replied, her voice wavering slightly. "It's still very early. I've just got some ideas developed." "Don't sell yourself short. You were always the one with the passion and creativity. I envy that," he said, the sincerity in his tone disarming her. The warmth of nostalgia mixed awkwardly with a surge of anxiety. "Thanks," she murmured, thoughts darting back to the colossal shifts she was making. Would reconnecting with Alex lead her to lend credence to her new direction, or would it stir fears she thought lay dormant? "I'd love to see what you're working on. No pressure, but I could connect you to some investors I know. They're interested in unique concepts that highlight personal stories," he suggested. Her breath caught, a blend of eagerness and apprehension coursing through her veins. This could be what she needed, but it also posed a threat to the vulnerability she had just begun to embrace. Her narrative could be forced into a mold, manipulated by external expectations. Could she juggle this new opportunity without compromising her authenticity? Emma spoke slowly, as if testing the word. "I'm not sure. It's just, I want this to be truly my vision." Alex's response was reassuring, but it held an edge. "I understand, but think of it this way. The right backers can help amplify your voice without taking it away from you. Just think about it." As they finished the call, the familiar noise of her children filtered back into her awareness, serving as a poignant reminder of her priorities. She needed to tread carefully. Could she go down this path without losing herself again? With the weight of Alex's offer hanging in the air like a storm cloud, Emma decided to push through her doubts. She grabbed her notes and turned them over, beginning to draft her own pitch, a reflection of her heart intertwined with the culinary journey she wished to unfold. The hour slipped away in an inspired haze, but as she pulled her thoughts together, her mind kept leapfrogging back to Alex's proposition. What would it take to balance authenticity with the allure of potential funding? Was she brave enough to step into a larger arena while maintaining her core values? As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the room in soft amber light, the contours of the dinner concept began to crystallize. But in the midst of creation, Emma's phone buzzed with another message, this time from Jordan. His words, brimming with enthusiasm, hinted at ideas for a collaborative event. Would her first invitation into this collaborative world offer the clarity she needed? Or would the multiple forces pulling her in different directions fracture her resolve? The moment was pregnant with questions, each demanding an answer. Emma felt the once steady ground beneath her begin to tremble. As she gathered her thoughts, determination mixed with a rising tide of uncertainty. Her next step would set the trajectory of her dreams. Would she leap bravely into the unknown or retreat into her comfort zone? The doorbell rang suddenly, pulling her from her reverie. Who could that be at this time? Emma felt a wave of apprehension wash over her, the prospect of unexpected challenges suddenly looming thick in the air. This moment could either anchor her journey or sweep everything from under her. She took a steadying breath and stepped toward the door, ready to confront whatever lay beyond. Could this be the pivotal confrontation she needed to reshape her aspirations? Emma opened the door cautiously, her heart racing at the thought of what lay on the other side. Standing there was a tall man exuding an air of confidence that startled her. He wore a tailored suit and had an easy, disarming smile that contrasted with the palpable anxiety fluttering in her stomach. "Emma, hi, I'm Lucas," he introduced himself, extending his hand. The words hang heavy in the air. Assistance? Was this invitation too good to be true? Emma hesitated, feeling the walls of her familiarity close in. Lucas's presence felt monumental, like stepping into a world she didn't fully understand.
"Right, Alex," she said slowly, mentally reviewing the intentions behind this unexpected visit. "What kind of assistance are you talking about? I've been in the food and hospitality industry for years. Investment is just one part of what I can offer. I want to help you craft something truly unique." His enthusiasm was infectious, yet it tugged at her insecurities. The very idea of opening herself back up to that world was daunting. Emma closed her eyes momentarily, summoning her resolve. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm still very much in the brainstorming phase. I want to make sure that whatever I create feels authentic and personal." Lucas nodded, his expression earnest. "Authenticity matters more than anything. What do you have so far? I'd love to see what's brewing in that creative mind of yours." And suddenly, she was swept away by the intensity of his interest. It was as if she had been handed the spotlight.
Emma felt her inhibitions melt away as she led Lucas inside, grabbing her notes from the table where she had spent hours drafting her ideas. As she shared her vision, a dinner service focused on family recipes infused with her journey, she felt infinitely more liberated than she ever anticipated. Lucas listened intently, asking insightful questions and suggesting ways to carve a niche that remained faithful to her roots. "Let me be clear," he said, shaking his head slightly in disbelief as she finished. "This is a brilliant concept. It speaks volumes. Have you thought about a launch event, a way to showcase your brand from the get-go?" Emma hesitated, a storm of excitement and anxiety brewing inside her. A launch? The idea sent chills down her spine. It was more than just an event. It was exposing her vulnerabilities to the world. "But what if it doesn't work?" she blurted out, the words escaping before she could contain them. "What if people don't connect with my vision?" Lucas leaned closer, his demeanor calming. "What if they do? Every challenge is a chance to evolve. What matters is that you stay true to your vision while inviting support. That way, the risk feels less daunting." His confidence struck a chord within her. An ember of determination ignited, pushing against her doubts. This was exactly what she needed to hear, a reminder of why she had started this journey in the first place. But underneath that ember, a flicker of fear lingered. Was she ready to step into a bigger role, share her story, open her life for scrutiny under investors' eyes? Was she ready for the weight of expectations, not just to shape her, but possibly to crush her? Feeling overwhelmed, Emma stopped and took a deep breath. "Thank you, Lucas. This is a lot to think about." "Absolutely. Just let me know how I can help. And remember, I can connect you to a network of people who believe in unique culinary stories." As Lucas departed, Emma stood frozen at the door, grappling with a tumult of emotions. The world seemed to beckon her forward with unrelenting urgency, yet every piece of her past argued for caution. That night, she lay in bed, shadows dancing across the walls, reflecting her inner turmoil. Alex had introduced the concept of investors, Lucas had presented tangible support, and yet the fear of letting go held her captive. She thought of her children, her aspirations, and all that had led her here. In her heart, she felt a desperate push against doubt, a flicker of belief in her ability to navigate this unfurling journey. What awaited her if she answered the call to rise? Would it ignite the fears she hoped to subdue, or would it unearth something powerful within? The dawn of potential loomed over her, but with it came the daunting realization that the next turn in her path was shifting from mere dreams to demanding decisions. Emma clutched the sheets, the question wrapping around her mind like a vice. Was she prepared to fully embrace this change? Her phone chimed again, another message, but this one felt like an uninvited reminder of the myriad choices unraveling ahead. Would she have the courage to face them, or would she falter? The morning light spilled into Emma's kitchen, illuminating the remnants of both her hopes and fears. The air was thick with the sweet scent of possibility. Today marked a pivotal moment. Her first public dinner event was set to unveil her culinary venture, a dinner rooted in the essence of her experiences, a narrative of resilience and celebration served on plates. As she stirred her coffee, she reflected on the journey that had led her here. Months ago, She had felt lost, buried under an avalanche of debt and despair, grappling with the fear of failure. But today, in this moment, she no longer felt like a victim of circumstance. The variety of challenges she had faced now served as new ingredients to season her life, transforming weaknesses into strengths. She glanced at the various items spread across the dining table, menu drafts, guest lists, and her mother's treasured recipe book. Every element told a story, intertwining her past with the present in rich tapestry-like fashion. Realizing that this dinner wouldn't just symbolize her culinary talents, it would also embody her ability to rise from the ashes of fear and self-doubt. As the clock ticked toward the event's start, excitement fluttered in her stomach. Each moment of uncertainty had brought her here. The bravery to accept support from Jordan had propelled her to recognize her potential, and the encouragement from Lucas had bolstered her ambition to share that potential with the world. With the first guests arriving, the warmth in Emma's heart expanded. The faces she saw were filled with curiosity and joy, echoing her progress. She moved through the bustling kitchen, her hands deftly preparing dishes that echoed her unique story. Her grandmother's lasagna infused with tangy tomatoes she had nurtured herself, and a decadent chocolate cake that represented both indulgence and perseverance. As laughter filtered through the air, Emma stepped into the dining area, her heart racing at the prospect of sharing her culinary creations. She presented herself not merely as a chef, but as an artist narrating through flavors. With each course that emerged from her kitchen, she excitedly shared the stories behind them. The joy in the room filled her with a palpable sense of purpose, transforming the anxiety she had once felt into a surge of unshakable confidence. Later that evening, as the candles flickered and the conversations flowed, Emma caught sight of Lucas speaking animatedly with her guests. The interplay of their discussion reinforced her decision. She had bravely woven her narrative into a business supported by authentic connections. She had taken risks, embraced vulnerability, and in return found a welcoming community surrounding her dream. Which led to a moment of reckoning. As Emma stepped away from the group, she inhaled deeply, reveling in the fulfilling weight of her accomplishments. She recalled the earlier days of fear, embarrassment, and resistance, each now a distant echo, transforming into the building blocks of her present success. In the aftermath of the dinner, genuinely touched by the audience's reactions, Emma embraced her newfound identity as a caterer. She no longer allowed self-doubt to dictate her potential. Instead, she curated a meal that resonated not just with her culinary skills, but with her heart. This was her story, told through food, shared openly without fear of judgment. As she cleaned up from the event, a fresh wave of clarity washed over her. She had ventured beyond survival and tapped into creativity, achieving something more profound than she had ever dared to dream. The validation she received from her guests illuminated something she had long desired. She was worthy of embracing her desires, and so were her children. With each dish that lifted off the table, Emma recognized she was defining her place in the culinary world on her own terms. No longer a waitress confined by circumstance or identity, she was now a recognized caterer, ready to share her offerings with a broader audience, capable of bringing communities together through the unifying power of food. The challenge of balancing her role as a mother and entrepreneur remained, yet one she was committed to navigating every step of the way. In her heart, she faced the ultimate truth. She was not just creating a business, but an opportunity for her children to witness their mother stand tall in her triumph. Emma saved that night's rush of adrenaline, feeling the adrenaline pumping through her veins, infuse her with the assurance that she could conquer any height she aimed for.
Just then, a congratulatory message chimed from Jordan, praising with event success and expressing excitement for future collaborations. It was time to fully step into this Nova identity and continue growing as both a professional and a mother. Emma smiled to herself, fully embracing the journey ahead, one where dreams were no longer shrouded in shadows, but brilliantly radiated their light. And as she prepared for a new day with a clean slate, she whispered affirmations of confidence, a pledge to remain bold and courageous, forging onward, transformed. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. This is the moment to show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.